Today I am showing you exactly how to use the Healthy Weight plant-based plate to improve your health and lose weight on a plant-based diet. You are going to be able to understand exactly what type of food you should be eating. You'll also find out exactly how much food you should be adding to your plate to lose weight on a healthy, balanced plant-based diet. So what is a plant-based plate? The food plate was developed by the Harvard School of Public Health, and it's a replacement for the food pyramid, which you might remember. The food plate gives you a visual guide to the proportions of food that you should be eating at each meal. Guidelines from public health boards in different countries are incorporating guidelines for vegans to help them eat a balanced diet. Guidelines that come from Canada are to base half of your plate on leaves, fruit and veg, a quarter of your plate on protein sources, and a quarter of your plate on nutritious carbs. These plant-based plates are a great way to show vegans how to eat a healthy diet, and I'm very happy to see more official dietary guidelines including vegans in their advice. And as good as plant-based plates are, there are a few problems with them. The main problem with a plant-based plate is that it simply doesn't help you lose weight. Just eating a balanced, healthy diet isn't enough to ensure that you lose weight. And this is because you might be overeating some high-calorie foods. Plates can vary in size, and it's possible to pile plates high with food and also to cram a lot of high-calorie foods such as oil into a small space on a plate. When you eat more calories than you need, you will gain weight, even if you do have a very healthy diet. A lot of people think that switching to a vegan diet is enough to help them lose weight and reach their ideal weight. And for some people, this is all they need to do. But unfortunately, just going plant-based isn't enough for most people to lose the weight that they want to lose. It's still very easy to overeat as a vegan and consume more calories than you are burning each day, which is what leads to weight gain. So how do we lose weight on a plant-based diet? To lose weight, you have to eat fewer calories than you burn. Everyone burns a different number of calories each day depending on various things, such as height, weight, activity level, the food they consume, and their metabolism. We can get a general idea of the number of calories we need to eat each day to lose weight by using a weight loss calculator. Here is a weight loss calculator that you can use to calculate how many calories you need, which is personalized to you. To use my weight loss calculator, all you do is you type in your age, gender, height, and weight. Now what you need to do is select your energy expenditure from the drop-down list. If you don't know what to choose, just guess and go with the more conservative option to stand a better chance of success. And you don't have to know your body fat percentage to get the results, but if you do know this figure, input it in, because the lower your body fat percentage, the more you can eat. And this is a great incentive for dropping body fat and gaining muscle, because it allows you to eat more while your weight stays the same and you look a lot leaner. So remember, the figure on the scales doesn't matter if you are building a lot of muscle, because your weight will go up while you look slimmer and more toned. The figure on the scales doesn't matter if you are building muscle at the same time as losing fat, because your weight could even go up or stay the same while you look slimmer and more toned. When you get your results, the calculator will show you how many calories you need to eat every day to maintain your weight, to lose 1 pound or to lose 2 pounds a week, or to gain 1 pound or 2 pounds a week if you want to put weight on. However, one thing to note is that there is a minimum number of calories that you should eat each day for good health. The Harvard Medical School recommends that a calorie intake should not fall below 1,200 calories a day in women or 1,500 calories a day in men, so that you don't deprive yourself of necessary nutrition. That's why none of my plans are ever lower than 1,200 calories a day. A lot of the people that I help are very busy, myself included, and busy people often don't have time to make elaborate snacks and would prefer that their meals be filling enough to last them from one meal to another, rather than constantly having to be thinking about food and snacking all day long. So the way in which I structure the meals in my weight loss plan is to base them on 400 calories per meal. Now I'm going to explain to you why all of my healthy weight plant-based plates are around about 400 calories. If you eat 3 meals a day that contain 400 calories, in total, you'll be getting 1,200 calories a day, which is the minimum number of calories for everybody. And because some people do need more than 1,200 calories a day, what they can do is to add more nutritious carbs to their meals, or they can add another meal at supper time or other additional snacks throughout the day if they do have time for them. 400 calorie meals are also very filling, so they'll help you feel satisfied after every meal and last until your next meal without hunger. If you eat less than 400 calories each meal, you'll often feel deprived and will be hungry a couple of hours later, which is not what you want when you haven't planned something that you're going to eat. At that point, you're going to be hunting around for something else to eat. And more than likely, you won't have brought something to work, or you won't have planned something at home, and you'll just grab what you can. You'll just buy something that's there. The main reason why people gain weight or even fail to lose weight is not that their meals are too high in calories, it's often because they are eating too many high-calorie snacks in addition to their meals. The reason why unplanned snacking is so detrimental to your weight loss efforts is that meals are often planned, nutritious, filling, and calorie counted, whereas snacking isn't. If you follow a recipe or even warm up a ready meal, that meal will contain a certain number of calories, which often isn't excessive. However, when you start to snack, these snacks are often not planned, and when you don't plan to eat a set quantity of food, you don't have any end point. There is nobody holding up a stop sign when you start to eat a bag of Doritos or a packet of cookies. Very soon that whole packet is gone in the blink of an eye, and with it, you've just eaten your entire calorie allocation for the whole day. And believe me, I've been there numerous times myself. That's why it's very important to fill yourself up at every meal so you don't end up engaging in unplanned snacking. I also recommend that you have some emergency low-calorie snacks planned, just in case you do want to snack and you won't end up going overboard, because you'll get out the exact portion of snack that you need and not the whole packet. Eating less than 400 calories per meal leads to way more unplanned snacking. And it's not a case of the fewer calories the better. If you eat too few calories, your body will think that you are starving yourself and send out such intense hunger signals, it would take all of the willpower in the world to resist them. Another good reason for eating 400 calorie meals is that you will get most of your nutrients from meals as they are perfectly balanced. You'll have most of your protein, nutritious carbs, nutrients, and healthy fats coming from your meals. Most people don't have the time to make perfectly balanced snacks in addition to their meals, so that's why it's important to eat most of your calories in the form of whole meals that you've planned in advance. Snacks tend to be void of much nutrition and they tend to be unbalanced. So now you know why the typical plant-based plate doesn't help you to lose weight, and the pitfalls that come from overeating on your plate or not planning the right amount of calories, eating too few calories, and eating too many calories. So now I'm going to explain to you how to solve all these problems with my healthy weight plant-based plate. The healthy weight plant-based plate is designed to help people lose weight in a healthy way by eating a plant-based diet. I have been using this model to lose weight myself, and also have helped thousands of people to lose weight using this system with the meal plans in my weight loss system called the Leaf System. So I know it works incredibly well. My meals are always plant-based, gluten-free, and based mainly on whole foods. At first glance, my healthy weight plant-based plate is very similar to the standard plant plate. When you look at a diagram, approximately half of the plate is nutrients from leaves, fruit and veg, approximately a quarter of the plate is nutritious carbs, and approximately a quarter of the plate is plant-based proteins. And I do agree with this model and think it's a great starting point for healthy, balanced meals, but I do have a couple of additions to the plate in terms of food groups, which I am going to explain in detail in a minute. The main difference between my healthy weight plant-based plate and the standard plant-based plate is that I have a recommendation for the number of calories that each food type should contain. It's not effective enough to just add food groups to a portion of your plate and hope that that's going to be enough for weight loss. Weight loss is mostly a scientific calculation based on numbers. You can almost guarantee weight loss based on calories consumed, especially if you're also eating healthy food. If you ignore the calories, you are just playing a guessing game when it comes to your weight loss. Many vegan recipes will tell you things like, drizzle olive oil on top of your salad, and that's really not going to help you lose weight. For example, each tablespoon of olive oil contains 119 calories. Imagine if you accidentally drizzled 4 tablespoons of oil on top of a healthy salad, which is actually very easy to do. You could quite easily double the calorie count of your whole meal by just guessing when it comes to weight loss by not being aware of the calories in different foods. We know that too much oil and fat is going to stop you from losing weight, but we don't want to go to the other end of the extreme either and avoid fat completely. And this is because fat is essential for good health. Some people cut fat completely out of their diet and then they start to suffer from health problems as a result. A certain amount of fat is essential for us, and most health agencies recommend that you don't drop your calorie intake below 10% that's coming from fats. We do need a small number of fat in our diet, and we also need our food to be tasty. Taste is an essential element of my own plant-based plate, because if food isn't tasty, we feel deprived and we feel like we're on a restricted diet. On my meal plans, I don't like people to feel hungry or deprived, so I make my food really tasty and still have some amount of healthy fat included. In addition to tasty food, I also like to create beautiful food that people are actually going to want to eat. The old saying that we taste with our eyes is so true. If we enjoy the look of our food, we are going to want to keep eating like this, and that will lead to more weight loss and better health in the long term. There are 5 different elements of my healthy weight plant-based plate, which are an acronym of the word plant, P-L-A-N-T. The 5 elements are as follows. P stands for plant protein. L stands for leaves, fruit and veg. A stands for aesthetic additions. N stands for nutritious carbs. And T stands for taste. And I am now going to explain each section in a bit more detail. Protein. Protein is the first element of the plant-based plate. Making sure you have high sources of protein on each plate helps you feel fuller for longer, so it really helps you feel satisfied after eating a meal. It helps you last longer between meals and keeps your blood sugar levels stable. So what exactly is protein? Protein is a macronutrient. There are 3 macronutrients: protein, carbohydrates and fat, and we need all 3 macros to give us calories. Proteins are made up of amino acids. So what does protein do in the body? Protein in the body has a huge amount of different roles in different areas, such as the functioning of the organs, the immune system, and the hemoglobin that carries oxygen around our blood. Protein helps muscles and bones to grow, and that also keeps our muscles and bones healthy throughout our lives. So how much protein do we actually need? Our protein requirements are based on our weight, and it's recommended that we need 0.36 grams per pound of body weight. On average, it is recommended that men get 56 grams of protein a day and women get 45 grams a day. However, most men eat around 85 grams of protein and women eat around 67 grams of protein per day. We generally eat more than enough protein even on a plant-based diet, so people don't have to worry about not getting enough protein. However, some people, such as athletes, older adults, or those on a calorie-restricted diet, are recommended to eat more protein than the recommended amount. Why we don't have to worry about getting enough protein? The reason why we don't have to worry about not getting enough protein is that protein is in almost all foods. Protein is in all whole foods. So if you are eating whole foods, you are eating at least 1,200 calories a day. You are definitely getting enough protein on any diet. So which are the highest sources of plant-based protein? Almost all foods contain protein and it adds up very quickly. But I like to include at least one of the following higher protein sources in every one of my plant plates. Some of the highest sources of plant-based protein include plant-based protein powder, tofu, tempeh, lentils, beans, chickpeas, edamame, peas, powdered peanut butter, soy milk, soy yogurt, pumpkin seeds, hemp seeds, chickpea or gram flour, nutritional yeast, yeast extract, and spirulina. So now that we know how much protein to eat per day and what types of protein to eat, how much protein should we eat per meal? On my plant plates, I try to add around 150 calories worth of protein to each plate. By adding around 150 calories of plant-based protein to each meal, it almost guarantees that you meet the protein requirements for the day just from the highest protein sources alone. And as almost all foods contain protein, the daily protein amount for the 3 meals is usually much higher than the minimum requirements. This is perfect for those who are losing weight, as they do need to eat more protein to make sure that they're losing fat rather than muscle tissue as they lose weight. Let's move on to the next section of the plate: leaves, fruit and veg. It's essential to include either leaves, fruit or vegetables in every single meal that you eat. This food group is the most essential food group by far. Many people think that you can't have a balanced diet just by eating leaves, fruit and vegetables, but the truth is that you actually can. Surprisingly, leaves, fruit and vegetables contain all of the macro and micronutrients that we need for optimal health. So it's very easy to not only survive, but to thrive if you were just to eat this food group alone. Let's now look at some of the highest sources of nutrients. Here's something fascinating that I want to share with you. Not only can you get all of your nutrients from leaves, fruit and veg, but did you know that you can get all of your body's nutritional requirements for one day by eating only 570 calories of certain leaves and vegetables? You can get all of your protein, your vitamins, your minerals, and double the amount of fiber that you need each day just by eating 3 vegetables. These 3 vegetables are what I would call superfood, and they aren't expensive and you can buy them pretty much anywhere. Do you want to hear what the superfoods are? So the 3 superfoods are mushrooms, kale, and broccoli. If you ate around 600 grams of each of these vegetables, you would get all of the nutrients for one day in just 570 calories. Granted, if you wanted to get all of your nutrients from just these 3 vegetables, you'd have to eat them in very high quantities, because 600 grams of vegetables is a lot, and you'd probably get very bored of eating this way very quickly. So I'm not suggesting that you do get all of your nutrients just from these 3 vegetables, but I just wanted to share this with you to illustrate my point that all vegetables do contain protein, fiber, vitamins and minerals in very large quantities. You can also replace kale with spinach to get most of the same nutrients that kale provides. So what are some of the benefits of leaves, fruit and veg. If you're not consuming fruit, veg and leaves every day as a vegan, you're not going to be able to get all of the essential vitamins and minerals that you need from food. Although you can take a multivitamin as a backup, the quality of these nutrients won't benefit the body like whole foods can. They are a fantastic source of fibre. Fibre is essential to help you avoid digestive problems. And here's another interesting fact about fibre. Fibre carries more calories out of the body, which means the more fibre you eat, the higher the number of calories you can eat and still lose weight. Fibre also helps you to carry out unhealthy foods out of the body alongside the healthy foods. So if you do indulge in something unhealthy, eat some fibre-rich foods alongside it to help you eliminate it much more quickly out of your body. Eating a diet rich in leaves, fruit and veg helps you reduce your risk of major health problems. It also helps you to bulk out your meals, meaning that you can eat very large quantities of food for much lower calories, and who doesn't want to eat more food? When you fill your stomach full of low-calorie density foods like leaves, fruit and veg, you feel satisfied after every single meal. And just seeing a larger amount of food on your plate helps you feel less deprived while you are trying to lose weight. Leaves, fruit and veg create a balanced plate and balance out the heavier foods on the plate, helping you to enjoy your food more. So how much leafy greens, fruit and veg should you eat per meal? On my plant plates, I try to add around 100 calories worth of leaves, fruit or veg to each plate. By adding around 100 calories of low calorie density plants to each meal, it helps you to get the majority of your nutrients from food sources and enables you to eat a larger quantity of food. As almost all plant-based foods contain nutrients, the amount of vitamins and minerals that you will be consuming for the 3 meals is usually much higher than the minimum requirements, and this is perfect for those who are losing weight, as they need to make sure their body still has the nutrients they need as they take in fewer calories to lose weight. Let's move on to the next part of the plate. Aesthetic additions. We know that we feel less deprived and more likely to stick to a diet if we enjoy our food. But did you know that the way the food looks contributes a lot to how much you enjoy the food? Here are some of the benefits of aesthetic additions. A new study led by Professor Charles Spence, an Oxford University gastrophysicist, has proven beyond a doubt that making something look good makes it effectively taste better too. The study found that thoughtful presentation meant diners found the food more flavorful. Even just the method of slicing a cucumber made the dishes considerably more appetizing and appear to be more expensive. People were willing to spend 3 times more for food that was presented nicely, as they found it to be much tastier. To enjoy your food more, you do need to spend a couple of extra seconds adding the finishing touches to a meal. These finishing touches are usually little things such as adding some fresh herbs, pickles, sesame seeds, chilies or green onions to the top of your plate. I call these finishing touches aesthetic additions, and I think they are essential to the enjoyment that you will get out of making your own meals and your willingness to make that meal again. So what are some examples of aesthetic additions? Here are the plate toppers that I use most often to make my plates look more pretty. Ground black pepper and salt, spring onion sliced lengthways, sesame seeds white and black, pomegranate seeds, fresh herbs, cherry or grape tomatoes, fresh chilies, chili flakes, flaked almonds, shredded coconut, poppy seeds, radish, lamb's lettuce, rocket or arugula, pine nuts, other seeds, drizzling sauce such as sriracha over the top. How many aesthetic additions to add to the top of your plate? I usually add a small sprinkle of something. I don't usually add enough to significantly adjust the calorie count of a recipe. A small sprinkle of something goes a long way in terms of the presentation of a plate. Now let's look at the 4th part of the plate, nutritious carbs. Nutritious carbs are foods that are a higher source of carbohydrates than other foods. Almost all plant foods contain carbohydrates in some form, so if you want to eat a healthy diet, it's impossible to eliminate carbohydrates. Carbs do have a very bad reputation at the moment, and most people think that you have to avoid carbs to lose weight, and this simply isn't true. A lot of people avoid carbs because they are avoiding processed junk food sources of carbs, such as cakes, cookies, donuts, and white bread. But most people have gone too far, labeling all carbs as the enemy when this simply isn't true. There are many plant-based foods which are higher in carbs that are extremely nutritious and good for your health. The main thing that determines whether you lose weight is consuming less calories than you burn, and plenty of people are able to lose weight by including carbohydrates in their diet. In some ways, I do agree with limiting the number of high carbohydrate foods that you consume, because if you don't, there simply won't be enough room on your plate for other nutritious foods. People are prone to eating a diet solely based up of mainly high carb foods such as sandwiches, pizza and pasta, and when you eat all of your calories from high carb foods, you aren't eating a balanced diet and your health will suffer as a result. So it is very difficult to lose weight by eating a diet mainly based on carbs, because you won't be eating a large volume of food, and if you're sticking to your calorie requirements for weight loss, you will end up feeling very deprived because your stomach will be empty and your body will be sending you signals to eat more constantly. Carbs are also not as filling as protein sources, so it's good to limit the number of carbs that you eat. Nutritious carbs are the one food group that if you removed it, it would have the least impact on your health. And this is because if you eat a plant-based diet, you'll still be getting enough carbohydrates from your protein sources and your leaves, fruit and veg. So if you wanted to cut anything out of your diet, it wouldn't be a great loss to cut out the foods that are high in carbs. But that doesn't mean that you would be eating a very low carb diet. On a plant-based diet, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to eat a very low carb diet. So there's no point in really trying. So what are some of the benefits of nutritious carbs? Why are they so nutritious? Nutritious carbs are a great source of energy, nutrients and fiber, and they also help to balance out a meal and help you feel satisfied, which is crucial when it comes to sticking to this way of eating for longer. And that's why when it comes to meals, I tend to try and include at least one nutritious carb per meal. It is possible to lower the calorie count of the meal even more by replacing some of your nutritious carbs with vegetables, such as replacing rice with cauliflower rice, etc. But I tend not to do that very often because I've noticed that I feel much more satisfied after eating the rice than if I ate the cauliflower rice, and satisfaction in my meals really helps me to look forward to eating and continue to eat this way. Carbs are also essential for brain functioning. You only have to look towards the negative side effects of diets such as the keto diets to realize how detrimental it can be to cut carbs out of the diet. What are some of the best sources of nutritious carbs? Here are some of the best sources of nutritious carbs: potatoes, sweet potatoes, corn, oats, rice, gluten-free rice pasta, popcorn, quinoa, buckwheat, gluten-free flour, amaranth, millet, sorghum, and teff. Almost all of the items on this list are grains, and all of them are gluten-free. The only item on this list that isn't a grain is white and sweet potatoes. The only reason why I put potatoes in the list of carbs rather than leaves, fruit and veg is that they tend to be very high in calories, so it's better to treat them as a carb rather than a vegetable. However, potatoes are some of the highest nutrient food on this list because technically they are a vegetable. So if you ever hear people saying that a white potato is a worthless, useless carb devoid of nutrients, they are absolutely wrong. It contains an abundance of nutrients. It's one of the healthiest foods on the planet. So how much of these nutritious carbs should you be adding to your plate? On my plant plates, I try to add around 100 calories of nutritious carbs to each plate. Adding around 100 calories of healthy grains or potatoes to each meal helps you feel balanced and satisfied. As almost all plant-based foods contain carbohydrates, the amount of carbohydrates that you will be consuming for the 3 meals is usually going to be higher than the amount you get from the nutritious carbs alone. Let's move on to the final section of the plant-based plate, and also my favorite section: taste. Taste is the final element of the healthy weight plant-based plate. Taste is a food group that you can add to any meal to make it tastier. So what are some of the benefits of taste? It's not just the presentation that helps us to enjoy food, it's the balance of the different elements of the food on the plate. Our mouth doesn't usually start watering when we see a plate full of raw vegetables, but if you add some spicy roasted chickpeas or some grilled tofu to the plate, we suddenly start craving the food. Similarly, if you just saw a plate of protein-dense food like black beans on a plate, it wouldn't appeal to you much. But if you add an array of rainbow vegetables and fruit to the plate, suddenly the whole dish appeals a lot more to you. And if you add to that a creamy vegan sauce drizzled over the top with some pinches of basil, suddenly you'd give anything to eat that meal right now. Our eyes don't deceive us. Balance appeals to our eyes and to our taste buds because balance is good for our health. And although a lot of people avoid using oil in their cooking if they want to lose weight, we don't need to eliminate it entirely. We can just reduce it. A meal doesn't feel balanced without some kind of fat, and some recipes just lend themselves to still including a little bit of oil, such as when you want to saute some onion in a small amount of oil before making a stew. But that doesn't mean you need to include oil in every recipe. A lot of recipes don't lend themselves to oil as well. It's far better to include a healthy source of fat, such as nuts blended up into a sauce for a salad dressing, than it is to include some oil on that salad dressing. Now let's talk about the 6 tastes in a balanced meal. For a long time, we have been told that there are 5 main tastes that your palate wants to taste in each bite of food to say that a food is tasty. If you include all of these different tastes in each recipe, you should enjoy your food a lot more. In each of my meals, I make sure that I include all of these different tastes. Number 1, sweet tasting. And you can get this from things like fruit, sweet vegetables, and syrup. Number 2, salty. You can get a salty taste from sea salt or vegetables. Number 3, sour. You can get a sour taste from things like lemon juice or vinegar. Number 4, bitter. You can get a bitter taste from things like leafy greens, ginger, and chocolate. And number 5, umami. You can get an umami taste from tamari, tomato paste, and nutritional yeast. But now researchers have added a 6th taste to the taste equation. They have been arguing for a long time that fat needs to be the 6th taste. Fat is usually equated with a sensation and not necessarily a taste, but they have now proven that fat does actually have a taste, and we need to have some element of fat in our dishes to balance our palate properly. So what are some of the best ways to add taste to your plate? Here are some of the best ways to add taste to your plate. I use some of these food types to add the 6 tastes into each recipe. Spreads, sprinkles, sauces, syrups, dips, salad dressings, seasonings, spice mixes, stir-ins, drizzle, and cooking oil. So how much taste should we add to our plate and still be able to lose weight? On my plant plates, I try to add around 50 calories worth of taste to each plate. Adding around 50 calories of taste to each plate helps you enjoy the taste of your meal. All taste ingredients work together to draw out the plant's natural tastes, to change the texture, and to enhance the flavour in a healthy way. So how do I incorporate all of these principles into my own recipes? All of my complete meal recipes on my blog and also my YouTube channel will adhere to the formula that I've laid out here as much as possible. But some recipes can't stick to this very easily, and that's because if you want to create a particular type of recipe, for it to resemble the recipe that you are trying to make, it's sometimes impossible to stick to this formula. For example, if you are making a pizza, The carb and the taste elements are going to be much higher, and the veg and the protein amounts are going to be much lower. It would be similar if you are eating a plant-based burger with fries. And you could, of course, make a cauliflower pizza base, which would incorporate more veg and make it a much balanced meal. But a lot of the time when people want to eat a pizza, they want to eat something floury, something bready that tastes like actual pizza, not that tastes like vegetables. And if you deviate too much from the taste of the original recipe, then people will not enjoy their food, they'll get fed up and they won't stick to the diet. So that's why these types of recipes tend to be eaten at the weekend as a treat instead of during the week, because they're not healthy enough for daily consumption. The only way to guarantee that you can stick to the exact formula that I've laid out is to create Buddha bowls or nourish bowls, where you add individual items to the bowl. But not everybody wants to eat Buddha bowls for every single meal for the rest of their lives, and that's why I take a balanced approach with the types of meals that I create, as well as the breakdown of nutrients. If we do the healthiest thing most of the time, we'll still see a big improvement in our health. But what I do is focus on creating recipes that are around 400 calories, because this is the most important factor for weight loss. So all of my meals will tend to be either slightly over or slightly under 400 calories. I don't deviate from this too much when it comes to complete meals. However, being flexible with the ingredients is essential for various reasons. And if you try to be too strict about sticking to the different sections of the plant-based plate, you will have more food waste. Another thing to note is that all of the recipes featured on my YouTube channel will have an associated recipe on my blog. So now that you know my formula, you don't just have to follow my recipes, you can use my method of creating healthy weight plant-based plates to make your own delicious creations. Before you get started making your own creations, here are some mistakes to avoid when it comes to making your healthy weight plant-based plates. Don't get too fixated on the individual sections. It is the overall calorie count of the meal that matters most. Take a multivitamin to cover your bases and stop you from getting obsessed about meeting your nutritional requirements every day. Don't try and be too perfect in too many ways, especially if you are new to a plant-based or gluten-free diet. It can be really overwhelming to focus on too many things at one time, so just choose one first and learn about that first before you move on to the next thing. Eat balanced the majority of the time, but allow yourself some treats within calorie ranges. For example, eat a cake instead of lunch sometimes. It's not great for your health, but it will keep you sane, and it will help you stick to a healthier diet in the long term, and you'll stay on track with your weight loss if you're allowed the occasional treat. So what are the next steps to lose weight on a plant-based diet? If you'd like to learn more about my weight loss system, which is based on plant-based, gluten-free, delicious meals around 400 calories each, I encourage you to go to greenthickies.com/leaf system, and there will be a link in the description below that you can click on, and you can read all of the testimonials and success stories over there as well. Now it's your turn to reach a healthy weight by making your own plant-based plates.
The magical life of fruit.